Good evening and welcome to the Carver Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, December 16th, 2020. Our first order of business on the agenda tonight is a discussion of 108 High Street, a formal complaint.
Yep, we went down there today, and it's been kind of messy for a while. So what most of the stuff we looked at, like we talked about, was Board of Health issues more so than conservation. I mean, there's bogs out there, but the recent complaint was about 5 trailers that were kind of
RVs.
RVs, yeah, parked by the road but near the bog. So I don't know. Do you think we should need to write a letter, or
Are they leaking into the bog?
no?
Or are they just sitting there minding their own business?
Well, they're right on the bog road, but
They're right on the bog road, and
Are they RV trailers or?
yeah, they're old, dilapidated. You know, they've probably been there for years and years and years.
Okay.
No, those trailers haven't been there for that long.
No?
But
no, those you're right. Those 5, those are fairly recent. The other ones,
at least not more than 3-4 years.
Well, are they storage trailers or RVs?
They're RVs,
I mean,
Yeah.
and they're
there's-
lined up like a train, 5 in a row.
And there's a lot of other equipment and stuff on the property that's been there for a long time. You've probably been by there.
Yeah, I'm sure, but is
I'm
it
think
farmland? Is it
It's
Well,
cranberry land.
Yeah,
is it
some
Farm
of
equipment?
it's some of it's farm equipment. Yeah.
A lot of fire trucks, a lot of old fire equipment, a street sweeper,
awesome?
A generator.
a lot of
Snow
generators.
blowers. An old fire truck.
What the hell is that? 108?
108 High Street, yeah.
It's a collection.
Inside George.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and I think a lot of the issues with the unregistered vehicles, that's a building zoning thing too. Because I know you're only supposed to have so many.
But that applies
Registered
to, applies to vehicles. I'm not sure how it'll apply to
Just
farm stuff, and I'm not sure RVs aren't vehicles
yeah. I'll have
and
to find
construction
out.
equipment.
When we get into
Now we have,
I would suggest that we write a letter to the property owner, Mr. Peck, and tell him that we're concerned about this,
Yeah.
and we want to get it the number of vehicles and items reduced.
Okay.
And would he start on that? Meanwhile, we will be looking into taking legal action to the town.
Okay.
I would copy
I'm not crazy about the legal action.
no, I'm not either.
I'd like to look at remedies. Maybe we'll use that word.
Right.
Should we invite him to a meeting?
I think we should find out from council what leg we have to stand on to begin with.
Yeah, I said at the site visit today, I don't think this is us.
Yeah, well,
No.
I was gonna say, if I may, we don't know and can't know unless there were soil samples taken or whatever, but when vehicles like that are left out long enough, it then becomes a Board of Health issue because we don't know if it's affecting groundwater and the like with contaminants.
We have a house 3 doors up that's falling into itself that is obviously a Board of Health and a rodent issue, and that's still sitting there.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I don't think conservation's got, I'd like to find out what we have for, what our remedies are, if we have even any authority.
Well, as I said, I'm not sure it's this body. I'm really leaning toward Board of Health.
Yeah, I think it's Board of Health
Board of
as
Health
well.
and Building Department.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's Board of Health. I think that it could even be Plymouth County mosquito control because of all the tires that are filled with water.
Right.
You know, that becomes a
Good point.
It becomes a fire hazard.
fire hazard and it becomes a triple E hazard, mosquito hazard in the spring and summer. So,
But your point, I think Dan's point is good, though. Is this possibility of oil or something leaking into wetlands?
Right.
Because it is so close
It
to
is
the
near the
bog.
bogs. I mean, all the stuff's within 100 feet of the bog. So
Oh, definitely.
theoretically,
Yeah.
you could say we need you to move the stuff outside 100 feet.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
If you
But
want.
if it's part of, if he tries to claim it's part of a farming operation, I just don't want to get into the quagmire of it all, that's all.
I wasn't saying that we should take the legal action, but we should tell him that we were concerning legal activity. Because, yeah, we're trying to pass the word on to somebody that can do something about it.
Right. Well, we could, want to have them come in?
We can have them come in.
Sure,
I think
have 'em
I think that we're probably limited in just saying that we're concerned about any kind of leakage from
Right.
any of the
Yeah.
equipment, because some of it looks old and has
Right.
Yeah.
not been moved. It looks like, it has been moved in
Yeah.
years. And we don't know if things may rust out and all of
Yeah.
a sudden an oil pan puts all, so
Yeah.
just that we're concerned about runoff getting into the bog,
Into the bog.
and to the swamp,
Yeah.
and just,
Yeah, invite them in, and then in the
Invite 'em.
meantime, let's, maybe check with
Right.
downstairs, or check with
Yeah.
council and see what our other remedies might be, or what other department could take it.
And maybe-
Contaminated soil comes under us and the fire department.
Yeah, I think it's more a fire department thing, and I would argue that it's also a Board of Health issue. I'm not
Yeah.
sure about conservation. Who's gonna foot the bill for the soil samples, you know what I mean?
True.
You know what I mean? Are we gonna absorb that, or are we gonna force the homeowner to provide that, and then what if they're clean?
Yeah.
Did anybody take pictures today?
no, but we can get back there if we
Right.
need
Well,
to.
the stuff ain't going anywhere. So
That's for sure.
But we probably
Sure,
should
we can get the
have
lights on,
pictures of it,
Charlie.
so
Yeah,
that-
I mean, if we have them come in,
your headlights on.
we can have him come in and then maybe he can start thinking about moving some of this stuff.
yes.
Another free pen.
There you go.
Did you give me this?
No.
I can't shut it off. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, I think we should do that. I think that's a better thing. And then, because we've always got the legal end of it, when push comes to
Yeah,
shove.
but allow him to give his
Right,
side
we'll
of
get a
the
little
story
bit more with
first.
honey than with vinegar, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously a farm, so he can certainly claim
Right.
agricultural use
Tough to
for
do
some of
with
this
5
stuff.
RVs, but is that where the migrant workers live in the summertime?
Well,
And
I'm
the
sure
old-
that's probably where they came from
Very
originally.
well be.
And the old fire truck.
Yeah, there
You
were,
never know when you gotta put a bog fire
Oh,
out.
that's true.
Yeah.
well,
And spare parts, gotta have spare parts.
Well, because then they get into precedent, and you look at what we had over at Heckler. You had a fire engine that was embedded in the ground over there. It took a crane to get
Right.
it out.
Did it really?
Yeah, it did.
Where was it?
Somebody tried to tow it, it wouldn't move.
Which one was that?
They had to actually
over
pick it up.
Heckler's on,
Heckler's.
Oh, the one that had the
on
big
Meadow
one.
Street.
Yeah, had the fire engine in,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, in the woods.
On Meadow Street.
Somebody was over there one day trying to tow it out of there, and
It was
it had
embedded.
gone back to seed.
Broke the chain.
They had to actually pick it up, move it.
All right, so I guess we just ask him to come in.
Okay.
And we can just talk about the fact that we're a little concerned about stuff getting
Yeah.
into the water.
Okay.
And because there's an awful lot of equipment adjacent to a number of bogs, a swamp,
Yeah.
and there's a reservoir
Yeah.
on the other side of the driveway.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
Yeah, let's check with council too, just for giggles.
Okay. Yeah.
all right. Next up on the agenda is a COC for 77 Crystal Lake Drive.
Yeah, that was the one, they had the existing little house and they fixed it up. It looks beautiful. They went and did a site visit. They put stone next to it,
Is that the one we looked at like a year ago, and it was literally right on the lot line?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they
yes.
shifted it a little bit?
They
Yeah, it
shifted
was
it a
like
little
8
bit.
inches off the lot
Yeah.
line or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, and they
Okay.
fixed, and we gave them a variance, of course, because it was all
Yeah, I know.
65 and everything. But yeah, they did a beautiful job.
Good.
Beautiful, yep. So I would recommend.
I make a motion, we approve the COC for DEP SC 126-578, 77 Crystal Lake Drive.
I have a second?
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the COC for 77 Crystal Lake Drive, DEP SC 126-578. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, approved unanimously.
I did the second.
Okay. We've got a couple of minutes, let's do the minutes. Get that out of the way.
good meeting last week, wasn't
Yeah, it was a good meeting.
it? Was it? It was a long meeting, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. They look good to me.
That would have been cute, wouldn't it?
Marion, you'll attach the letter from Power Plus when we post it? Okay, so it'll be attached downstairs?
Which letter was
There's
that?
an attachment, it says a letter from Power
Oh,
Plus.
the one from Energy.
Yeah, so I
yeah.
just want to
Okay,
make
yeah.
sure that that's actually attached
okay.
when it gets posted up on the website.
Yep. So we're gonna attach the,
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes for December 2nd.
Also move?
A second?
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of December 2nd, 2020. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Approved unanimously. All right. I guess since this is continued, we can go right into it.
yep,
right?
yep.
Don't have to
There's no
wait.
time on those, yep.
And I don't have to read this again.
Nope.
All right, so why don't we pick up on the continued hearing of 129 Center Street?
Have drawings and pictures and stuff.
I think Kevin's got a
Yep.
couple of new plans.
I have some updated plans
He moved the septic system
for
a little bit.
everybody.
Yeah, I want to see what he's got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, that's okay. Heather's not critical.
Take your pictures, Savory.
Okay, thanks.
Because I figured Ellen hadn't seen it.
I know who I am.
All too well.
Yeah,
Are you plowing today?
I hope so. Klaus had a birthday, it hasn't
You
been
probably
used
won't start till like midnight or
see
1
these?
o'clock.
One second, if you don't mind.
Sure, no problem.
I want to just check one thing.
I'll sign in.
Those are pictures of the Latch and Meet. Did you see it? You saw it?
No, I didn't see them. I looked at the lot as we drove past it.
Yeah.
All right. The agenda that's printed is not the most recent one.
Oh,
It was revised.
It did say, I got a notice that there was a revised
Yes,
agenda.
and it's on the website. I
We
just
did,
checked.
The revised
this is
one.
not the revised agenda?
This is not the revised
Oh.
agenda. So what we'll do is we'll continue with this and then come back, because we have, one of the things that was listed
oh,
was
it's
a
a discussion.
discussion of
for
the,
Dan. The coal property?
of the coal property.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Dan's thing. So we'll come back to that. Is that okay, Dan?
Yeah.
A revised one? That was the only thing that got
I
added?
got the notice that it was there, but it never got
It-
posted.
It's posted. I just looked it up. It's right here.
It's posted, but I
Oh, you didn't give me
probably
a
got
copy
copies
of
of
it.
the original one.
So
Yeah,
it's all Brooks' fault,
yeah.
Again.
Again,
as usual.
it's Jill's fault.
Okay,
Nice copies.
let's go. Thank you for waiting. I knew something was missing, so I wanted to just check that.
No problem at all. Again, my name's Kevin Grady from Grady Consulting, representing the applicant, M.O. Lyons Realty Trust, for the notice of intent submitted for 129 Center Street. We had a meeting a few weeks ago, and we discussed the merits of the
Yeah, just pull a little closer. Thank you.
We discussed the merits of the application and impacts to the wetlands resource area. At that meeting, the commission indicated they wanted to review the wetland line and go to the site. My understanding is that there was a meeting on site with our wetland scientist, and we reviewed the wetland line and found that the wetland line was accurate as depicted. And then, I'm not sure if there's any further discussion. In the meantime, we have made a minor modification to the plan. We had a discussion with the Board of Health agent. and we have revised the location of the septic system. We've pushed it closer to the street, and we've provided a 150-foot setback between the well and the leaching system. So we no longer need a variance from the Board of Health for that. As we...
Excuse me, could you speak into the mic a little bit more clearly?
Sure, it reverberates back at me here, so it's... So at the last meeting, we discussed the layout of the lot and how it came to be in this configuration. The wetlands were delineated, the lot was created and endorsed by the planning board in a subdivision plan of 1970. So at that time, it met the criteria for a building lot, and it becomes grandfathered in many ways, for zoning in particular, as a buildable lot. So this lot is, one, undersized, because at the time of that division, the zoning requirement was 30,000 square feet. So the owner of the property at that time divided into 30,000 square foot lots, and time passed and the zoning bylaw changed. Under zoning, the lot has protections because it predated the zoning change to 60,000 square feet. So relative to zoning, we think it's a buildable lot, and we designed the layout of the lot based on the topography and the configuration of the site. The site has, as I said, it's undersized. It's got an electric easement that passes through the middle of the lot. We're not allowed to put any structures under the easement for obvious reasons and legal reasons. So we're left with basically the back left corner of the lot to site a structure. So we've sited the structure approximately 1 foot out of the electrical easement. We've sited the structure 31 feet from the left-hand lot line. The current zoning requires 30 feet to that lot line. So we've pushed it up toward the street as far as it can possibly go, to get it away from the wetlands resource area. That's as far as we can move that structure, and meet zoning and any other restrictions on the lot. If we could move it 65 feet from the wetlands, we would. If we move it 100 feet from the wetlands, we would. We follow the same guidance you do: avoid, reduce, mitigate, etc. So in this case, we're down to mitigation in order to make this lot work for the owner and allow him to implement his development rights for the lot. So we've sited the structure as far from the resource area as possible. We've proposed silt sock erosion control around the structure. We've given them ample room around the building, approximately 15 feet, to cut back the vegetation. You can't have large growth overhanging the house. That's dangerous, and it also will, it'll wear down the house. It'll wear out the roof, painting, general maintenance, upkeep. So the mitigation there is setback, erosion control at the limit of work. We're proposing markers along the perimeter to delineate the conservation setbacks, let the owners know, the future owners know, that there is a conservation area beyond their grass, and there's to be no dumping, no cutting, etc. We're proposing the project's a single-family dwelling lot. It's not subject to state stormwater requirements, but we are proposing a dry well to mitigate the additional runoff that's created on the site from the roof. Let's see. So we've maximized or minimized the impacts to the wetlands resource area. We submitted a narrative detailing how the project has been designed to comply with the performance standards for both the regulation and the bylaw, and the interests that it protects. The narrative discusses how we won't have negative impacts to public or private water supply. Where we have private water supplies, all the houses in this area are on wells. We're providing 150-foot setback to all the wells nearby. We're not going to have impacts to groundwater or groundwater quality. We've proposed a Title V compliant septic system. None of the work is being done in the water table. The structure is placed above the water table, so we're not having any impacts to that. Surface water and surface water quality, we are going to have some lawn in there, but we are going to keep a vegetated buffer around the wetlands, or between the wetland resource area and the proposed yard and lot. Flood control, the site's not in a flood zone. We're not going to have any impacts on flood control. Erosion and sediment control, we're providing a 12-inch silt sock around the perimeter of the project. We're going to loam and seed and stabilize immediately. So we're going to stabilize the site so we don't have erosion or sedimentation going to the resource area. Prevention of water pollution. Again, we have a Title V compliant system. We're proposing a dry well for roof runoff. Residential projects don't typically have high pollution impacts associated with them. Storm drainage, again, not subject to state stormwater, but we are providing infiltration from the roof runoff. The site's not near fisheries. It's not in wildlife habitat. Recreation, there are no public recreational opportunities associated with this lot. Agriculture, the site doesn't provide any agriculture opportunities. Aesthetics to the neighborhood, the site is cleared periodically by the electric company to maintain their lines. This project isn't going to have negative impacts to the aesthetics of the area. It's a single-family house lot, minimal development area. There's no scenic vistas or anything nearby. Fish or shellfish habitat, there is none on the site. Rare plants and animal species, we're not in an estimated habitat or an actual habitat. And then riverfront areas, there is no river in the vicinity. There is bordering vegetated wetland. So I believe we've presented how we meet the standards of both the bylaw and the state wetlands protection regulations. Now, your bylaw also has a section on variances to allow certain work, particularly with your 60-foot wetland buffer. I know the commission prefers to maintain that buffer, and we completely understand that. And if we had the opportunity to move this structure outside of that, we would. But on this lot in particular, there is no opportunity to move it outside of that. If we are not allowed to site the house in this location, and we can obtain permits from every other board, and we're not granted this variance, then the development rights for this lot will be will have been taken or has been unable to be implemented because of our inability to obtain this variance. I think what we're presented meets the standards for allowance of this variance, particularly that we can't really locate it any further. The variance standard listed in your bylaw it's very similar to the zoning variance standards. In order for the commission to issue a variance with respect to a particular project, it must specifically find, based on clear and convincing evidence set forth by the applicant, that owing to the circumstances relating to the soil conditions, hydrologic conditions, topography of such land, and especially affecting such land, but not affecting the wetlands within the town. So we're saying is that the topography of this lot and the configuration of this lot is such that we don't have another alternative to site the building. We're saying that it affects only this lot because of the specific configuration associated with this lot, particularly the location of the wetlands, the location of the electric easement. This lot was created again in 1970. It's not like we just cut this lot last week and we're coming in with a house that we're going to put right in the wetlands, or right within your 65-foot no disturb zone. A literal enforcement of the provisions of the bylaw would involve substantial hardship. So if the commission doesn't find that we have demonstrated my previous discussion that it owes specifically to this lot, and the configuration topography, that it involves a substantial hardship for the owners. Specifically, if we can't obtain an order of conditions, then the hardship would be a non-buildable lot. And it basically takes significant value from the lot. I hope I explained that well enough. I think we did the best we could to maximize setbacks and reduce impacts to the resource area. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
I've got a
Go ahead.
couple.
Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for coming tonight.
Microphone, so we can hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So, I found you to be very thorough in your history lesson of zoning as it pertains going back to the 70s and so forth. However, in between the 70s and this current time that we live in, there have been quite a few points of evolution in both zoning, bylaw improvements, and so some of the points that I would like to point out to you is that making a parallel with there being a similarity to our bylaws as it pertains to protecting wetlands and what's required in zoning. I found your language to be a little bit loose in terms of omitting things that were convenient to your case and not the whole picture. One thing in particular is that when you described our variance, and as it pertains to the hardship it would create, it's important. I'm glad you did talk a lot about the history of how this all came to be, because I'll give you an example. If you turn onto a street and the speed limit sign was to your right, but you took a left, and you didn't realize that it was a 25-mile-an-hour zone and you got pulled over for going 45, you're still going to get a ticket even though you didn't realize. Okay? So here we have some pretty specific guidelines as to some no-touch zones as it pertains to wetlands. And you are, if my math is right, the square footage of this dwelling is 884 square feet. And you're proposing about 700 plus of that is well into the 65-foot buffer. Is my math right? Okay.
Generally, yeah, sure.
So that's what is generally described in this body as a self-created hardship, because the bylaw existed for quite some time, long before this property was purchased. And the people that purchased it or advised the purchasing of the property should have made themselves aware of these bylaws, because this isn't hidden information. It's publicly available, and for that reason, your assessment of what is zoned as a buildable lot is actually, according to this body and according to the bylaws of this body, is incorrect.
So I believe under, and I'm not an attorney, but I don't believe transfer of ownership alleviates the grandfathering associated with the lot. It still has, just because it's been transferred doesn't mean it's lost its grandfathering and status as a buildable zoning lot.
So while it's outside the scope of this body, when that lot, before it was subdivided, maybe it was designated as a buildable lot, but once it was subdivided into different sections, all I can say is the section that we're looking at is well within, again, I do appreciate you making that shift with different parts of the, having the septic pushed up, and but again, the area that is in contention and that you're looking for a variance of, it's not that just a corner of that dwelling is in there. The majority of that dwelling is well within that 65-foot buffer zone. And again, if this was something that you were pushed into this, and the hardship was created by something other than the buyer, this is something that is a self-created hardship, and that's, for the most simple way of putting it is not really the town of Carver's issue.
So
Or responsibility, for that matter.
I don't think it's a self-inflicted hardship.
It is if you decide that, through your explanation of self-designating it as a buildable lot, when the majority of it is not in a buildable zone. That's why you're looking for the variance. If it was in a buildable zone, you wouldn't need a variance.
It is in a buildable zone. It's within your 65-foot wetland buffer. We've described how we meet the performance standards, and you also have a variance section that allows for just this situation where there is a lot that is buildable under all other permitting layers, and we've maximized our setbacks. We physically can't move it outside of this. This perfectly fits the scenario where a variance could be granted and an order of conditions granted.
That's not an entirely true statement.
Yeah, I would say it perfectly fits in with your desired proposal, but not
Exactly.
the actual within what our regulatory standards are.
If you didn't want to tangle with the zoning board of appeals, you could move this house closer to the street, put the septic system behind it. You'd require a setback variance at that point. You're trying to put an entire house in the 65. You're trying to put a well literally 5 feet off the swamp. There's everything that can possibly be wrong with this picture is wrong with this picture. This is not a buildable lot. if there were a structure sitting here already and it dilapidated and fell in on itself, you might have some grounds for grandfathering, provided you didn't change the footprint. You're taking pristine land that is in the wetlands, you want to strip clear it in order to be able to put this building in and put a house in, and then you're claiming hardship if you're not able to do that. You set it back just far enough so that ZBA has no interference in this at all, because it meets the setbacks. Unfortunately, it meets none of the requirements of conservation. It's not like you're asking for 10 feet of this building to be in the 65. You're asking for 80% of this building to be in the 65. And to the point that they won't be able to walk out their back door without stepping in the wetlands. Where are you gonna put the post? Another 20 feet beyond the back door? So the setback post that says this is wetlands area is gonna literally be 5, 10, 15 feet off the actual edge of the wetlands itself. So why do we bother having a buffer zone? We don't have any need for one then, if we're gonna just throw it out. This sets a horrific precedent.
Yeah.
To sandwich
I
in
agree.
and squeeze in and get real creative with these little tiny areas and then claim hardship if it doesn't work out. This is how we end up with a disaster on our hands with, and I say this at a lot of this is nothing personal. This is how we end up with a disaster with the next 5 applicants. It's not you, by any means. I'd rather see the house come up the front, get creative on the size of it, and take your shot with, you'd have a better shot at ZBA, which I no longer sit on for the record. You'd have a better shot at ZBA with your hardship claim and topography argument as far as the setbacks go, than I believe you're gonna get with this much house in the 65 from this commission.
So ZBA is not the one encumbering the lot. We could move that house to the street, except for the fact it's encumbered by an electric easement.
Put it right on the
And
edge of that lot line for the setback, for the easement.
And there's no,
Of course you could.
you know, you can't put a structure within that easement.
You wouldn't have to. You could pull that house out of the 65 and kitty corner it so it runs along that dotted line for the easement. But you then would require zoning board of appeals setback approvals. You'd have to get a variance on your setbacks for topography.
From
You
the
could
road?
probably pull that one off.
From the road?
From the road, sure. You wouldn't meet the setbacks.
Or
from
the side, or the side.
You need a side setback. But the argument would be, you can't put it where it is now because it's in the wetlands. We're not trying to give you a hard time. We're concerned about the precedent that it sets. And it just, this is a textbook case of what the Conservation Commission tries to avoid.
This is why our
And I'm
bylaws
the
were passed.
easiest guy on the committee.
Our bylaws were voted on at town meeting to prevent things like this from happening. Dan, are you done?
I am, thank you.
Okay. My concerns echo what Mr. Germain and Mr. Badger said. I did a little bit of rough math myself. This is the plan that you presented tonight. And just to make it more clear to everybody,
Get your crayons out.
I brought them with me. The pink area is within the 65-foot buffer zone. The yellow area is within the 100% buffer zone. And this is the right-hand side of this is the current tree line. This area in red is also forested right now. It's out of our jurisdiction, but it is forested. And all of this area, the pink, the yellow, and the red area, needs to be clear-cut in order to do this. And I did just some quick math, basically using a ruler and as close as I could get. And this whole area, a forested area here, is about 12,500 square feet. Of that, 8,300 square feet would need to be cut. And of that 8,300, 4,800 of that square feet are inside the 100-foot buffer zone. So I don't know how you can say by cutting all that root structure and all of the undergrowth and the understory and all the roots that cleanse the water before it rolls downhill into the wetlands, how that does not have an effect on the groundwater. You're clearing a fifth of an acre of forest to build this house, and a tenth of an acre within wetlands buffer zone to build this house. And, I concur with Mr. Germain, and it was something that I was thinking about independently. He and I did not speak about this. I think that perhaps I don't know if you need to go as far as putting the septic all the way in the back, but if you were to petition the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance on your setback from I guess it's
From Center Street.
northwest property, abutting property. And basically, if you were to take the house, the dwelling, and make it longer and thinner, and flipped its place with the driveway, moving the house closer to the street, and have it parallel with the electrical easement. But if you were to put like more of a ranch house, maybe 20 feet wide by 40 feet long, and put it where the driveway is now, and then put the driveway on the far side of that.
And move the septic to the back.
And then, well, no, the septic can stay where it
You could actually leave the
is.
septic where it is.
You could leave the septic where it is.
Yeah.
You could pull the entire house out of the 65. You might need some relief from the 100, and that
Right.
would be something that I'm sure that the commission would welcome over what you've got now. And I don't see an issue with ZBA granting you the setback, side setbacks, because that's an obvious topography issue, soil condition, because you can't, because there's an easement.
Right.
So you got everything going for you on that kind of a design. It would be my guess. Like I said, I'm no longer sitting on the ZBA, so I'm not speaking for them.
I think there are other options that can be looked at here.
I do too.
And I truly, it's too damaging to the buffer zone and the slope going down to the wetlands. And I don't care how many signs you put around the perimeter of the grass area, that's not going to keep children or garbage or anything else out of that. And particularly back where the well is, which is, 10 feet from the actual wetlands itself.
If not less.
Is there a way we could see on the map where the electric easement is?
It's on there.
It is on there.
It's
There's a lot of lines.
It's this dotted line.
Okay, that one, I didn't understand it.
Yeah, this is the line, this is electrical, and these two on the side of the easement,
Oh, wow, okay,
okay?
yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
The one thing I held off on bullet point wise was in terms of mitigation of all the trees that are going to be pulled out. So no matter no matter if you do, even if you do a switch, that's still very much an issue in terms
But
of.
I don't think it's as bad.
You would not need to have as much of you would lessen the impact on the 65-foot buffer
In
zone,
the buffer zone.
That's the big number.
because you would have a driveway which we could, based on our order of conditions, require to be sand or gravel.
Okay.
So it's no longer impervious. It moves a roof structure outside of the 65-foot. And it's easier to, obviously, a driveway can go underneath the easement, it's just you can't put a structure. So we could actually ask for you could look at the driveway being under the easement in front of the house, or to the side of the house as opposed to going up behind it. So, I'm of the opinion that there are other options available here, and it may require talking to the Zoning Board of Appeals to have that side side setback adjusted. I don't know, is there any kind of precedent set for the two of our boards to meet together or to talk?
No, I don't know why we couldn't.
Or, I mean, we
No
can,
reason
So
why we can't.
if we were to go to zoning and ask for relief, I would ask for a letter from you guys in support
I-
of such
I
a,
don't think
such
that
a
there's
request.
any issue with that at all.
No.
I mean, it's,
We'll do that.
you know, I think that what we're looking for, the zoning board of appeals or the zoning setbacks are a little bit more flexible and a lot less damaging.
Unless you're
Well, I
on
will
that
tell you
board.
this.
Well, yeah, okay, okay.
One of the issues at zoning recently was a weird lot like this that conservation had
Pondview.
granted a variance for, but they had pulled the entire house. It was an existing house that needed to be raised. So they pulled the entire house out of the wetlands. And that made conservation very happy. We gave the variance for the well and so forth and so on, but now they needed setbacks from zoning. And the only place where that, the wagon wheels came right off was they went to zoning and tried to say that conservation forced them to move the house out of the wetlands, therefore creating the hardship. We did not force them to do that. This was like, this is the same discussion we're having here tonight. Can you look at this and see if you can do this? Now, and we did the exact same thing with Pondview. They chose to pull it out of the wetlands by an additional 25 feet or so, and then we're looking for front setbacks from the street, and which was ultimately granted, but the argument became they were never forced to do it. So we didn't hold a gun to anybody's head and say, you can't have this variance unless you move the house. We're not telling you the same thing. We're trying to find an alternative because, again, we don't want to set that precedent. It would be my suggestion, and with your permission, be my suggestion to continue this, redraw this, do a little changes to it, get as much of this house out of the 65, if not all of it, as you can, see what your setbacks actually are, and then simply bring it back to us. If that's fine with us and we like the way that looks, we'd be more than happy to submit any kind of documentation you need in support of a variance that would help you achieve that. But I want you to understand that we're not telling you you have to do
I
that.
understand how it works.
Yeah.
Okay, because we're not telling you you have to do that. You can sit back and say,
Well,
we could say no, and then you can do whatever you need to do next, so.
Your regulations are, somewhat subjective as,
I think you have a
Because it's-
better shot with zoning than you're gonna have trying to put this
So-
much of the.
so what
house
happens
in
is-
that 65.
we redesign it, go to zoning, we get relief or we don't. If we don't get relief, we come back. If we do get relief, we'll come back anyway because the entire lot's basically in the buffer zone.
Well, you're gonna be within the 100, so you're still gonna need some relief.
Yes.
No matter how you reconfigure, the house is gonna be within the 100.
Yes.
But it gets it out of the 65, and that gives us a good foundation to say to zoning, listen, this is what he wanted to do. He's doing this because we requested this. We didn't force him, but we requested it. He complied. Now he needs a break on some setbacks from the street. Somebody has to give in here. So we're giving, and we'd let you do something within the 100, and zoning would have to give and give you some relief on the front setback and the side setback, and I don't see that being a big
I
deal.
think zoning would.
Yeah, I don't think this front setback's an issue. I think it's just the
Is
side
there a
setback.
house right next door to this?
It's up,
It's
it's
quite a
closer
ways
to the
away.
road. There's a
It's way
shed.
out.
You can see where the
Yeah,
shed.
you can see the
I see
shed.
the shed.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just one point, just to help you, help yourself in this cause. Our bylaws are not subjective. They are what they are. So we're not interpreting them one way on one night and another way on another night.
No, I'm not-
They're
I'm not
they're
saying
They're
that.
very specific. So when you do put this together, keep in mind, while we're making efforts to look at it again, we're leaning toward the continuance side of things as opposed to just a solid, hard no, then please take in consideration that those are bylaws that the town has voted on. They're not bylaws that we, in a loosey-goosey fashion, decide to, wave our wands at or not. There's something, there are reasons behind them, and they're very good reasons, and they're ones that have been supported and voted by the town.
Understood.
Thank you.
We're trying to find a way to make this work for everybody.
Right. And
Yep.
I think it's doable. I think with a
I do
little
too.
creativity and some help from our friends at zoning that, that a happy medium can be reached by all of us.
Understood. We'll like to request a continuance to the next, probably a month by the time we get through.
Yeah, the holiday's coming up and
And we actually we don't have anything on.
Actually, can we continue it to the next hearing? I'll request a continuance if necessary. I need to check, one other thing with the building department that maybe we can avoid going to zoning board based on grandfathered setbacks.
Okay.
So if we have grandfathered setbacks to the time of the division, they might be as small as 10 feet to the sideline and 20 feet to the front line.
Okay.
So if I make a call to the zoning enforcement officer and find that out, we may be able to avoid that. So that's the only reason I want to go to the next hearing, because it might be more expeditious.
Well, we don't have anything scheduled for the 6th, but if January 6th would be our next scheduled meeting, because we meet on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. So
Okay.
Now we have nothing
as
else.
of now, we have nothing else to bring us in, but if that's what you'd like to do, then.
Yeah, and
we can
I'll
do
give you, I'll let you know if,
January 6th work for you, or would you want January 6th plus 14 days?
20th. January 6th or 20th?
January 6th should be fine. We're gonna make a phone call
Okay.
tomorrow, and if we need to go to zoning, I'll let you guys know that you don't have to come to the meeting on the 6th, well ahead of time.
Just let Brooke know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that we continue 129 Center Street, NOI DEP 126-614 to January 6th.
All right, do we have a second? All right, it's been moved and seconded to continue this hearing until Wednesday, January 6th, 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. I have one question before you go.
Sure.
Are you locked into the footprint of the house the way it is? Or could you make it narrower and longer?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, because even doing that, if you made it narrower and longer and made it parallel with the electrical easement, I mean, you've moved your septic out of the,
Out of the
on your
way.
original plan, your septic was right next to the driveway.
Correct.
So if you were to take a narrower house and just move that along in conjunction with the driveway, almost as one thing, and move it 20 feet closer to the road, 30 feet closer to the road, you still might be within the 30-foot setback, but you'd be much more out of our area of contention.
I'll take a look at some
You'd be within
alternatives.
the 100,
Okay.
You'd be out of the 65.
Well, what Mr. Germain said is precedent, and that's the word that we hate here, is that, if we were to allow this, which is over 80% of the structure within our 60-foot, 5-foot buffer zone, the next guy's going to come in with 90% and say, hey, look, you gave it to 88% to this guy, so why only want 90? And the next thing you know, everything that our bylaws state and everything that the town approved in town meeting is no longer valid. So
That's not our intent by
I
any means.
know
This-
that, and I'm not saying it is,
know that.
but it's what we have to
It's
safeguard.
It's never just the applicant, and Savory is exactly correct. It's always
The next guy.
the next guys.
And we're not willy-nilly throwing this together. We've taken
I know.
Oh,
a
there's
good
a
look at
tremendous
this.
amount of work you've done on this, and I know
I know
what you
that.
tried to do. You tried to find the lesser of the evils.
We try to meet every,
Right.
as
Right.
much as we could. Under the state wetlands regs, as you guys know, you can work right up to the wetlands and even fill 5,000 square feet.
Right.
Yes.
So, your regulations are more stringent, and
That's
you've
the
asked,
next guy will want to, you know what I mean?
yeah. And you've asked us to look at alternatives,
Right.
which we'll do.
And I think that one of the reasons that our wetlands bylaws are a little bit more stringent than other towns, and you'll find this in other towns like Carver, is that everyone's on well water,
Yep.
you know? So that whole ecosystem of the roots and the trees and being close to wetlands, that all affects the aquifer and the groundwater. So anything that we can do to protect that, and also the growers, you know, they need fresh water too. So that's why we're a little bit more stringent than others.
Pleasures of a 48% wetland town. That's
Right.
really what it is.
Yep.
Carver's like 48% wetlands.
Wait, okay, it used to be 51%.
It was a dry summer.
No, they filled them.
Yeah, we
They filled them when you weren't
filled
looking.
those in.
Look at the wetland change map.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
night.
Kevin.
All right.
Well, you just need a variance.
27 Wenham.
Yeah.
Continued.
Okay. Let's go back to
The revised agenda?
the revised agenda. And basically, I asked to have this added to the agenda at Dan's request. The Boy Scouts are doing some work in the Cole property, putting up a suspension bridge to take a path over
Yeah.
the wetlands. And because we're the stewards of that, we should probably vote to approve it and such. So I'll let Dan,
We can't vote to approve it. Is it on the agenda for a vote?
It's.
discussion and possible vote.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's what I
Sorry, I
put.
didn't get a copy of the current
So-
revised agenda.
I didn't-
To be clear, there is currently an Eagle project going on out at the Orange Trail itself, but the proposed project that'll be presented to the CPC is not a scout project.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
Right now, this is, I'm proposing it myself as a member of as a citizen in town, and also somebody who's involved with different conservation and outdoor education activities. This particular suspension bridge is, we've measured out to be at least roughly, depending on where the trusses are set, between 47 and 50 feet apart. This is going to be on the northeast corner of the Orange Trail. I have some photographs I can pass around.
This is on the Cole property?
This is on the Cole property on the Orange Trail.
What's the issue? Is there a problem?
Oh, it's not, he needs to get,
He wants an okey-dokey?
well, more or less, some of our support before he goes to CPC, so CPC sees that Concom might.
This is more of a protocol thing. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure, I wanted to talk with you all about it, just like talking to you about Jay Peters' Eagle project.
In all honesty, Dan, if you're bringing this before us, then from the respect I have for you, you've already thought this all the way through. And you do a tremendous amount of stuff with the kids and with this stuff. I have absolutely confidence in what you're
Right,
trying.
but we have to do it officially.
Right.
Dan-
Well, you know,
He's got to write a check and he's got to make an NOI.
I should say that this is, the reason I'm taking these extra steps is this project is beyond an Eagle Scout project. This is gonna be a suspension bridge, one like you might see, in northern Maine or Vermont or on Colorado, whatever. And so I had more of a protocol question as to, getting, we've got some letters of support from the Boy Scouts, Scoutmaster. We have a general contractor who has given estimates as to what it would cost in terms of materials, and we have an experienced body of volunteers that are going to offset labor costs in constructing the bridge itself. And we are, just like I am with the other project, going to be adhering to conservation restrictions as it pertains to access to that trail. So we have already plans of transporting all that material in as well, and that'll be presented to CPC tomorrow night. So I did want to invite members to a site walk. We're going to be out at the Grumpy's Brook dedication this Saturday.
Bring a
Don't-
snow shovel.
Don't
Yeah.
forget that.
I
No
can,
problem.
I can bring spare sets of snowshoes if people like. And we're going to take a little jaunt out to see Jay's project that is currently underway, and also just to get a good visual of the site of this proposed suspension bridge.
Are you guys all going to Grumpy's?
Hoping to.
Try my best. Saturday, cartoons are on.
Three Stooges. The Three Stooges
I
are on
watched the
together.
Three Stooges today, now that's inappropriate. I watched the Roadrunner and
What's that?
Wile E. Coyote anymore.
Stooges, I love it.
Like it.
When it gets to that point.
I used to do my father all the time.
I think what we need, Dan, did you write anything up for us to look at and approve, or?
No, not tonight. I wasn't sure that it was
Okay.
going to make it onto tonight's agenda.
I think that what we should do, and maybe we can add this to the agenda for the 6th of January.
Yeah.
Is to have Dan present a letter to us
Yeah,
for
and-
us to sign
For you to sign.
as our
Support.
support
Yeah.
of doing that. The Historic District Commission met last night and did the same thing with the letter of support for the fixing the spires on the Union Meeting House
Yeah.
in South Carver. And the reason that CPC needs this is that the next step, I think tomorrow night CPC is voting on whether to put these things in front of town meeting, but there is a public hearing on it at their January meeting.
Yeah.
So they need to have all of their ducks in a row to present it to the public.
Oh, okay.
So, that's when Dan's letter should be a part of his
And he
package.
presents that to the CPC.
Yes.
Okay.
But he's going before them tomorrow night, so I'd
But-
like to
but-
see this committee give him the
Yes.
An informal
affirmation.
okey-dokey.
Yes.
Yeah, you got the informal okey-dokey, and then give us a letter in January. So you can go tomorrow night and say Concom is in favor.
Yeah, no, I mean, Savory did suggest bringing a letter tonight. The only reason I held off on it too was, I'm not comfortable even asking for a letter until I would like some other eyes on the site. Just like we do everywhere else, have a site visit so that when you write the letter, you know what you're signing.
Then tell them tomorrow night
Yeah.
that preliminarily, based on what we've been told, we're in favor of it.
Yeah.
Right, well, I mean, some of us went out there, walked the Orange
Yeah,
Trail
Yeah.
a couple of years ago,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've seen,
I
we
went
pretty
out
much
there.
sort of know the location.
and we got to that.
It was that big expanse that was full of water and you couldn't
Yeah.
really walk down there.
Yeah.
So that's where he's
That's
putting up.
cool.
Yeah.
It's a great
Perfect
idea.
spot for it.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're aware of where you're doing this, and we're also aware that it was needed, even back then.
I will say that the sides now have collapsed in even more, so whatever was there, even if you saw it 2 years ago, it's actually a bigger expanse now.
It's a good idea.
Yep, it's very good.
It'd be great.
Okey-dokey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so do we want to take a vote, just,
Make a motion that we preliminarily, based until we see, however you want to word this.
Given
I'm
that
fine with the
okey-doke.
thing, so.
I think that we just say the Conservation
He's
Commission
in support.
is in support of upgrading the Orange Trail and,
And installing a
moved.
bridge.
We're gonna call it the Orange Trail Suspension Bridge. I'll come up with a better name.
Perfect, so moved.
all right, second?
I'll second.
All
Don't
right,
name it after yourself.
No,
Badger Bridge?
no.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to give our approval to the project on the Orange Trail in Cole property. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? None.
Right.
Motion to adjourn.
Dan.
Dan, do you get to vote on this?
I don't
No.
think so.
No, you have to abstain.
I abstain.
401.
Yeah, my bad.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Alan needs to get out there and plow.
I need to go take a nap first.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
He do-
Aye.
Aye. Okay.